Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of The Boys. It was called Every One of You Sons of Bitches, and the episode begins in Russia as Ryan Butcher takes out a troop of Russian soldiers, stating that no one can know I was here. We then get a cut to Firecracker, the Deep, and Homelander speaking about Soldier Boy in a video, stating that he was off in Russia fighting Ukraine until now. A video about this is shown off to a group of journalists at Vought Tower, where Homelander then publicly announces, unexpectedly, that Soldier Boy is his father. Soldier Boy is still angry at Homelander for sending him into the Kicks crib, putting him in danger. Homelander tries to pass off the blame, saying that he wouldn't have sent him if he had known the virus was real. Elsewhere, Huey and the boys are shown to be watching the broadcast and are in disbelief at how Soldier Boy is still alive. Dr. Samir reveals that it's probably because Soldier Boy was actually injected with the first version of Compound V, called V1. Simultaneously with this conversation, Sister Sage informs Homelander and Soldier Boy about the existence of V1, which would not only make Homelander immune, but also unkillable, she says. Both believe that V1 is still available, but are unsure where to get their hands on it. Once left alone with Homelander, Soldier Boy begins to belittle him, bragging that he'll still be alive long after Homelander's dead. For her part, Annie believes she might know where to start looking for some V1. Butcher stays behind while the rest of the boys arrive at a remote campground, where Huey tells Annie that she and Kimiko should take the V1 to save themselves from the virus. Annie is skeptical, stating that she doesn't know what it could do to her, and suspects that it could cause her to become a crazy mutant. As they bicker, Stan, Edgar, and his granddaughter Zoe, aka Snakeface, approach them. Annie reveals that Marie Moreau from Gen V helped give her the coordinates to get to Edgar, and asks him what he knows about V1. Turns out that Edgar knows quite a bit about V1, but doesn't immediately agree to help the boys, especially since he's still angry at Butcher for killing his daughter, Victoria Newman. Mother's Milk attempts to reason with him, and he ultimately agrees, leading them into his bunker. Once there, Huey is shocked to find that Maverick, the son of Translucent, whom Huey had killed in Season 1, is living with Edgar and Zoe. While Maverick is firmly anti-Vought, he doesn't actually know the truth about his father's death, with Edgar telling him that Homelander killed him. Edgar reveals that Vought stopped distributing V1 as it proved to be unstable and unpredictable, but gives them files about where they may be able to find it. Huey attempts to talk with Zoe, apologizing for her mother's murder, but is told quite resoundingly to fuck off. Alone in his office, Homelander begins to envision former Vought CEO Madeline Stillwell as an angel who tells him that his destiny is to become the Messiah, to no one's surprise. Back at the compound, Zoe heads out and sends a text to Ryan, who arrives immediately. She tells Ryan that Butcher isn't there, but now they have a way to find him and kill him. Ryan is against the idea of killing Butcher, hiding his conflicting feelings and simply telling Zoe that Butcher would kill her. Zoe angrily walks away, and it's then revealed that Butcher was spying on the two the whole time, and he approaches Ryan. Ryan shoves Butcher, but he barely even flinches, revealing that he is now a soup too. Ryan threatens Butcher, claiming that Zoe was right about him, and that he should just kill them. Butcher scoffs, saying that he wouldn't. They both love the same woman and hate Homelander. Back at Vought Tower, Soldier Boy walks in on Homelander bathing in milk, because of course he is. Homelander asks him to help him locate some V1, but Soldier Boy is resistant, calling Homelander a freak. At Edgar's bunker, Huey attempts to talk with Maverick, finding a way to bond with him over the loss of their fathers. He tells Maverick that filling himself with hate won't lead to victory, that he needs to let go. Annie overhears Huey and calls him over, telling him to stop talking to Maverick. Seeing that the files that Edgar gave them are mostly redacted, Frenchie suggests going back to their base, where Butcher is keeping a scanner that can unredact the files. Butcher, meanwhile, takes Ryan to a nearby pub where he gives him a pint and tells him to kill Homelander, claiming that it's his destiny. He tells Ryan that he will die, but they'll both die together. Ryan says no, but Butcher says it's the only way, and he'll save the world. Unbeknownst to Edgar and the boys, the Deep, Black Noir 2, Cindy, and Dognot are embarking on a road trip in a Cybertruck to find Edgar and kidnap him. Frenchie and Kimiko discuss their futures while fueling up their van, but realize that they have different goals, including the fact that Frenchie doesn't want to have kids while Kimiko does. Back at the pub, Butcher drops an unknown object into Ryan's pocket and begins to tell him about the abuse he and his brother suffered at the hands of their father, before revealing that he killed him. Ryan tells Butcher that he doesn't want to become like Homelander, afraid of himself after accidentally killing Becca and Grace. He ultimately agrees to help Butcher in killing Homelander. Having scanned the redacted documents, Mother's Milk learns that V1 may be located at Fort Harmony, a decommissioned Vought facility. The Deep, Black Noir 2, Cindy, and Dognot arrive at Edgar's compound and begin breaking in, but realizing that Zoe is outside, Edgar becomes worried that she's in danger. It is shown that Zoe stowed away in Frenchie and Kimiko's van and made her way back to the boys' base, where she is reunited with her father, Samir. Hearing noise from inside, Frenchie and Kimiko rush back inside to find Zoe and Samir trashing the lab. Frenchie nearly shoots them, but Kimiko tells him to let them go. Mother's Milk and Edgar share cigars and talk about the former's father, a lawyer from Harlem, who the latter believes was up against an unbeatable foe, not Vought currency. He warns Mother's Milk that even if the virus is successful in eliminating Soups, a new threat will take its place. Mother's Milk realizes that Edgar wants to eventually become the CEO of Vought again and says he'll kill him if that ever happens. Homelander, meanwhile, orders Sage to have Crime Analytics drop everything they're doing to find V1, saying nothing else matters. At the same time, on the set of Truth Bomb, Firecracker and Soldier Boy begin to bond over their shared love of firearms. They leave the set and have sex in Firecracker's bedroom. After the fact, Firecracker tells Soldier Boy that she never actually had sex with Homelander, but that she only breastfed him. Butcher takes Ryan to the base, where he introduces him to his dog, Terror, and Kimiko and Frenchie inform him that they let Samir go. Butcher is angered and says that they have no way of stopping Homelander now. Offended and realizing that Butcher lied to him once more, Ryan runs away. Back at Edgar's campground, Huey and Annie give Maverick a smoke bomb that he can use to distract the Deep, Black Noir 2, Cindy, and Dognot. The plan backfires when Maverick is caught and the Deep tells him the truth, that Huey killed his father. Feeling betrayed, Maverick lets them in, and Edgar runs away, leaving Huey, Mother's Milk, and Annie to face the threat alone. However, the Deep and Black Noir 2 catch up to Edgar and knock him out. The Deep goes an extra step and ultimately knocks out Black Noir 2, driving off and leaving him behind. Maverick finally confronts Huey and begins throwing him around the bunker and backs him into a corner. Cindy walks into the room and her powers malfunction, causing Maverick to explode. Annie sneaks in behind Cindy and snaps her neck, thinking that she's killed Huey. On the run again, Ryan hides out at Planet Homelander, only for Homelander to find him. He tells Ryan about V1, but he isn't interested. Ryan begins trying to attack Homelander, who initially doesn't retaliate, before finally snapping and brutally beating Ryan nearly to death. Huey, Annie, and Mother's Milk return to their base, where Frenchie tells them about Fort Harmony. With few options left, Mother Milk says they must leave immediately. Annie, distraught over Huey nearly dying, leaves, claiming that he's better off without her around. The Deep brings Homelander Edgar, who tells him, "We have a lot to discuss." Lastly, Butcher sees an unconscious, bloodied Ryan still breathing, revealing that he survived his encounter with Homelander, and that's where the episode ended. So last week, when I did my video on the premiere, I talked about how I've always liked this show because it's just insane with the gore and the sex stuff, and also because, you know, Homelander is a fascinating, if not creepy-ass character that just blows my mind. And, you know, I'm continuing to like it for that reason this season. But I have to say that I'm finding it this season to be a little all over the place. I think that might be a product of the fact that they have to wrap up a bunch of storylines and character arcs. So, you know, I guess that's to be expected, but it's, you know, a little scattershot. And I don't think that takes away from it all that much, but I think it could be better if it weren't so scattershot. On the upside, I find it fascinating that Homelander, you know, basically bows down before Soldier Boy. It's the, you know, Soldier Boy is the only person in Homelander's life that he has any respect for whatsoever, that, you know, he doesn't want to piss off. I mean, you know, Homelander's very vain and he always has cared about what people think of him, and it pisses him off when people don't like him. But those are people he knows he can just kill whenever he wants to. In this case, he doesn't go there because he thinks too highly of Soldier Boy as his father, which is messed up because he wasn't in his life. But, you know, I think he realizes that Soldier Boy is the alpha that he isn't, even though he thinks he is. And not that that version of alpha is anything special because Soldier Boy's an asshole, but, you know, to Homelander, he's the bee's knees, as it were. So it's just fascinating that he all but genuflects in front of Soldier Boy and kowtows to him and kisses his ass. Because normally he's the guy who's getting his ass kissed by everyone else and who kisses no ass. So it's just really fascinating. Butcher in this episode was butchering, as usual, being an asshole, lying to Ryan, manipulating him. And, you know, I probably should have said this before, and I may have, but forgot. But, I think at least originally it could be argued that Butcher was appalled by what the Supes were doing to the world and that he wanted to stop them because it was the right thing to do and for the betterment of humanity. But I think at this point, he is so up his own ass about his rivalry with Homelander and wanting to come out on top of that conflict that he just wants to kill Homelander. He doesn't care if it comes at a high price for anyone else or for anyone else's. He just wants to kill Homelander. So he's way deep into Captain Ahab territory. And I think part of that is because the V is messing with him, but it's pathological and it's really scary to watch. So I'm worried about that. I have to say I found it a little strange that the boys' plan would be to go and find the V1 because they don't really have a need for it. I mean, if they could get it before Homelander does and destroy it, I suppose that worked to their advantage. But if no one knows where it is and they go about finding it, then, they are increasing the potential that it will wind up in Homelander's hands. Whereas if they just did nothing, it wouldn't increase those chances. So I thought that was a little strange that they were going to go and find it, because once it's found, right? So, and Starlight herself says, she's not interested in taking it. So it's not because she wants to immunize herself against the virus or whatever. She thinks it's a way to keep it from Homelander, but it's also a way to make sure that Homelander finds it because now it's found. So, I didn't see the wisdom in that whole plan. But I guess they need to set up, the arc for the season, which is the race to get the V1. I'm concerned that Butcher doesn't understand that by bringing Ryan into the situation, he's introducing a wild card. He's very impressionable, Ryan is. He's been manipulated by Homelander in the past. Why does Butcher not know that bringing he and Homelander together could be disastrous for the world? How does he not understand that? Why does he not understand that the two of them together, alongside Soldier Boy, would just compound the problem they already have? It's because he's blinded by wanting to kill Homelander so badly that he doesn't understand that taking the shortcut of using Ryan to draw Homelander out is not worth it, when he could just wait, bide his time and wait. He's worried that Homelander is going to get the V1 and make himself immune, but what if Ryan takes some V1 and decides he's going to join Homelander? The cost benefit analysis result that he got when he did that calculation, I think, was off. And so I don't get it. Anyway, I'm glad Homelander didn't kill Ryan because I want to see what's going to happen. Annie, aka Starlight, pulling the whole "you're better off without me" thing is ridiculous because she knows damned well that Huey is not going to let it go at that. So that was just stupid. Once again, we have the most intelligent person on the planet, Sister Sage, being taken by surprise by something that happens in the episode when Homelander steps up and unexpectedly announces in front of the press that Soldier Boy is his biological father. How did she not know he was going to do that? Of course he's going to do that, because all the limelight is going to Soldier Boy and coming off of him, and he has to tie himself to it. How does she not know he was going to do that? I don't know. I really don't know. But Homelander is a demented fuck, and this shit is just going to get nuts as the season unfolds. So, I'm here for it. I just hope that some of the storytelling gets better. I think they're doing some weird story stuff that doesn't make sense, and I hope they kind of tighten that up before they get to the end. But that's really all I have to say, so I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.